Imagine a life of absolute privilege, shielded from every conceivable sorrow, every unpleasant sight, a life where every desire is instantly fulfilled, every comfort provided, every discomfort banished. Would such a life lead to ultimate happiness, or to a deeper, more profound yearning? Today, we journey back to ancient India, to the extraordinary tale of a young prince whose seemingly perfect existence was destined to be shattered by an encounter with the raw realities of life. This isn't just a historical account, it's a profound narrative that charts the awakening of a consciousness that would forever alter the course of human understanding. It's the story of Siddhartha Gautama, the sheltered royal, who dared to look beyond the gilded cage of his upbringing and, through an arduous and revolutionary quest, became the Buddha, the awakened one. His journey isn't just a legend, it's a blueprint for anyone seeking liberation from suffering in their own lives. Prepare to be inspired, to question your own assumptions, and to discover the timeless wisdom born from a prince's daring quest for truth. The Gilded Cage, Siddhartha's sheltered youth. Our story begins in a royal palace in ancient India, a place of unparalleled luxury and calculated isolation. Here lived a delightful and intelligent young boy named Siddhartha Gautama. His parents, the king and queen of the Shakya clan, deeply believed that this extraordinary little prince was destined for greatness, that his birth heralded a truly unique destiny. To confirm this profound intuition and to understand the contours of his future, they sought the counsel of a renowned astrologer, a sage well-versed in the cosmic dance of the stars and their influence on human fate. The astrologer, after consulting the celestial patterns, delivered a prophecy that simultaneously filled the royal parents with immense pride and a deep, gnawing fear. "Your son, the prince," the astrologer declared, his voice resonating with cosmic authority, "will either become a very powerful universal ruler, a Chakravartin, much like his esteemed father, wielding immense worldly power, or he will become a revered holy man, an ascetic who renounces the world. And if he chooses the latter path," the astrologer added gravely, "your family will inevitably lose all worldly power in the kingdom, relinquishing all temporal authority." "Oh my," the king exclaimed, his heart torn between pride and profound apprehension. The thought of losing his only heir to a spiritual path, of the kingdom being left without a successor, was unbearable. The astrologer, sensing the king's distress, offered a glimmer of hope, albeit with a condition: "Do not worry, Your Majesty. As long as you keep him meticulously shielded from the four great sights, sickness, old age, poverty, and death, it will be all right. Ensure he never witnesses these universal sufferings." And so, the king, driven by love for his son and a desire to secure the future of his lineage, made a momentous decision. He resolved to create a meticulously controlled environment for the prince, a veritable gilded cage designed to shield Siddhartha from every conceivable form of suffering, every unpleasant sight, every stark reality of human existence. The palace was transformed into a paradise, an idyllic bubble. Siddhartha grew up amidst unparalleled beauty, endless delights, and constant entertainment. He married a beautiful princess, Yashodhara, and had a beloved son, Rahula, all without ever having met, or even glimpsed, the ordinary people living outside the palace walls, living lives filled with the common struggles of humanity. His world was one of eternal youth, health, and abundance, a meticulously constructed illusion designed to keep him enthralled. The Buddhist insight. This portion of the story is deeply resonant with the Buddhist concept of dukkha, suffering, particularly the suffering inherent in attachment, upadana, to pleasant sensations and the aversion to unpleasant ones. The king, driven by his own attachments to power and his son's perceived happiness, unwittingly created a profound form of dukkha for Siddhartha, a dukkha of ignorance. Siddhartha was born into a state of avidya, ignorance of the true nature of existence. Shielded from the universal truths of anicca, impermanence, dukkha, suffering, and anatta, non-self, his insulated existence, while seemingly perfect, was a profound spiritual poverty. The astrologer's prophecy, though seemingly a prediction, was more a statement of inherent karmic potential. The two paths representing the fundamental human choice between worldly engagement and spiritual liberation. The king's efforts, though well-intentioned, ultimately served to amplify Siddhartha's eventual awakening by making the stark reality of suffering all the more impactful when it finally presented itself. The four sights. The cracks in the gilded cage. Despite the king's meticulous efforts, the inherent nature of existence cannot be permanently suppressed. Reality has a way of finding its cracks, of seeping through the most carefully constructed illusions. One fateful day, Siddhartha, driven by an inexplicable curiosity, or perhaps a preordained karmic impulse, decided to drive his chariot outside the familiar, manicured palace grounds. This simple act of curiosity would change the course of his life. And indeed, the history of human consciousness. Forever. As he ventured beyond the palace gates, into the bustling streets of Kapilavastu, the world as he knew it shattered. He witnessed, for the very first time, the raw, unfiltered realities of ordinary human life. The sights that greeted him were profoundly shocking, deeply unsettling, and utterly transformative. An old man. He saw an old man, frail and stooped, his body ravaged by time, his youth long vanished. A sick man. Next, he encountered a sick man, writhing in pain, his body consumed by disease. A dead man. Then, the most shocking of all, he drove by a funeral procession, witnessing a dead body, lifeless and still, being carried away. This stark image confronted him directly with the ultimate impermanence of all things. A beggar monk. Finally, he saw a serene beggar monk, a sannyasin, walking with an air of profound peace, his countenance undisturbed by the worldly suffering around him. This sight, in stark contrast to the previous three, offered a glimpse of a possible path to transcend suffering. These encounters, collectively known as the four sights, pierced through the illusion of his sheltered existence. Siddhartha's mind, previously unburdened by such realities, grappled with a terrifying realization. What? People get sick and are poor and die? Life is just suffering. This wasn't merely an intellectual observation, it was a visceral, soul-shattering understanding that his perfect world was a fragile exception, not the universal rule. The realization was profound. Siddhartha doesn't want to suffer. And he doesn't want anyone else to do so either. This must be solved. This question, born from deep empathy and a burgeoning wisdom, became the driving force of his life. He could no longer remain content in his palace of illusions. The comfortable chains of attachment had become unbearable. Driven by this urgent, burning quest to understand the root of suffering and find a universal solution, he made the momentous decision to leave his beloved wife and child, his luxurious palace, and his destined kingdom, and venture forth into the unknown. The Buddhist insight. The four sights are central to the Buddha's biography and a powerful illustration of the Buddhist path. They represent the unavoidable realities of dukkha, suffering, that permeate existence. For Siddhartha, witnessing old age, sickness, and death awakened him to the pervasive nature of suffering, dukkha, the suffering of suffering, viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change, sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned existence. His realization that life is just suffering is the first noble truth. The sight of the peaceful monk, however, pointed towards a potential path to liberation, a way out of the cycle of suffering. His decision to leave the palace, often seen as a radical act of renunciation, was in fact a profound act of detachment, nekkhamma, not from love, but from the attachments that bind one to suffering. It was a courageous step on the path of right renunciation, samma sankappa. Driven by a deep compassion for all beings, including himself, the path of extremes, seeking beyond and the pitfalls of austerity. Having left his privileged life, Siddhartha embarked on his quest for truth with an earnestness that few could match. He sought out numerous wise men, renowned spiritual teachers, and ascetic masters of his time, eagerly asking for advice on how to live, how to find the ultimate meaning, how to transcend the suffering he had so profoundly witnessed. Yet, despite his diligent study and sincere efforts, he found no truly satisfying answers, no ultimate solution to the pervasive problem of suffering. Each teaching seemed to offer only a partial truth, a fleeting glimpse of liberation, but not the complete and enduring understanding he craved. Disappointed but undeterred, Siddhartha decided to try a radical approach that was prevalent among ascetics of his era: extreme self-denial and severe austerity. He resolved to starve himself, to push his body to its absolute limits, believing that by conquering the physical desires and needs, he could somehow purify his spirit and attain enlightenment. He lived like the most extreme beggar monks, subjecting himself to unimaginable deprivations. "Look how thin he has become," one might have exclaimed upon seeing him. Indeed, his body became emaciated, a mere skeleton barely covered by skin, his bones protruding sharply. He was so weak he could barely move. He pushed himself to the brink of death. Yet true happiness, true liberation, remained elusive. This severe asceticism, this path of extreme self-mortification, clearly didn't work. It did not make him happier. It only brought immense physical pain and mental anguish. No, Siddhartha realizes this. This is a pivotal moment in his journey. He abandoned the idea of starving himself, recognizing the futility of such extreme practices. This realization was a crucial step towards the middle way. He understood that neither excessive indulgence, his princely life, nor extreme asceticism, his period of self-mortification, led to the ultimate truth. Neither extreme brought the genuine peace and liberation he sought. The Buddhist insight. Siddhartha's initial period of seeking advice and then practicing extreme asceticism is a crucial part of his path to becoming the Buddha. It illustrates the Buddhist concept of avoiding extremes. His early life of indulgence represented one extreme, the pursuit of sensual pleasures, kamasukhalakanuyoga. His 6 years of extreme asceticism represented the other extreme, self-mortification, attakilamathanayoga. The Buddha later taught that neither of these leads to liberation. His realization that this clearly doesn't work, it won't make one happier, is his first step towards discovering the middle path, Majjhima Patipada, a path of moderation, balance, and practical wisdom that avoids these two extremes. This experience grounded his future teachings, as he could speak with authority from having personally explored and transcended both ends of the spectrum. It also highlights the importance of experiential learning over mere intellectual understanding or blind adherence to practices. The Bodhi tree, the seed of enlightenment and the defeat of Mara. Having abandoned the path of extreme austerity, Siddhartha sought a new approach, one guided by his own profound intuition. He chose a sacred spot, a peaceful place beneath a venerable fig tree, which would later become known as the Bodhi tree, the tree of awakening. Here, he sat down to meditate, making an unwavering vow: he would not move from this spot. He would not break his meditation until he had found the ultimate solution to suffering, until he had achieved complete enlightenment. This was a commitment of profound resolve, born from 6 years of intense, yet unfulfilled, seeking. As Siddhartha delved deeper into his meditation, pushing the boundaries of his consciousness, an evil demon named Mara appeared to tempt him. Mara, in Buddhist cosmology, is not merely an external devil, he is a symbolic representation of the defilements, temptations, and distractions that arise from within our own minds, the ego, desires, aversion, fear, doubt, and the clinging to existence. Mara used every conceivable tactic to try and dissuade Siddhartha from his path, to break his concentration and shatter his resolve. Mara appeared with seductive maidens, offering him earthly pleasures and power. He invoked terrifying armies, threatening him with destruction. He whispered doubts into Siddhartha's mind, questioning his worthiness, his efforts, and the very possibility of enlightenment. He offered him lots of great things: wealth, power, fame, the very things he had renounced, trying to lure him back to the world of attachment and suffering. But Siddhartha just stayed put. His resolve was unshakable, his focus unwavering. He remained deeply absorbed in his meditation, seeing through Mara's illusions, recognizing them as mere creations of the mind. He remained centered in the middle way, unmoved by either temptation or threat. And finally, after having meditated for 49 days and nights, enduring countless internal and external challenges, a profound realization dawned upon Siddhartha. He realized what was fundamentally wrong. The root cause of all suffering. Humans are never truly satisfied. They always want more wealth, more pleasure, more recognition, more control, and this wanting, this insatiable craving and clinging, tanha, never ends, because this wanting, this endless cycle of desire, never ends. Then the suffering never ends either. This was the profound insight. the ultimate truth that liberated him. So now, Siddhartha had realized how it is, the fundamental nature of reality and the cause of suffering. He had become enlightened, a state of perfect wisdom and compassion, free from all defilements. And that, precisely, is what the word Buddha means, the awakened one, or the enlightened one. He was no longer merely Siddhartha Gautama, he was now the Buddha. The Buddhist insight. The Bodhi tree represents the place of ultimate awakening, where one transcends the limitations of conditioned existence. Siddhartha's vow and his sustained meditation under the tree exemplify viriya, right effort, and samadhi, right concentration. Two crucial aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path. The encounter with Mara is a profound allegory for the internal struggle against our own defilements. Mara's temptations are not external entities but the manifestations of Siddhartha's own residual attachments and fears. His steadfastness in the face of these temptations demonstrates the power of vipassana, insight, seeing things as they truly are. Discerning reality from illusion. The core realization that humans are never satisfied. They always want more, and this wanting never ends. So the suffering never ends either, is the profound understanding of the second noble truth, samudaya. The origin of suffering is craving, tanha, and the third noble truth, nirodha. The cessation of suffering is the cessation of craving. This realization is enlightenment itself. The transformation from Siddhartha to Buddha signifies the shedding of the individual self and the awakening to the universal truth, leading to a state of profound freedom and liberation. The Dhamma, preaching the middle way and the end of samsara. Having attained this profound enlightenment, the Buddha's natural inclination, born from immense compassion, karuna, was to share this liberating truth with others. He wanted more people to realize this fundamental insight, to awaken from the dream of suffering. Initially, he hesitated, realizing how deep and subtle this truth was, how difficult it might be for others to grasp. But urged by the gods, symbolizing his own awakened conscience and the needs of humanity, he decided to teach. Some of his oldest friends, fellow seekers who had journeyed with him during his ascetic period, listened to him with open hearts and minds. They began to follow him, becoming his first disciples, Sangha. The Buddha then began to preach the Dhamma, his teachings, the universal law he had discovered, not only to his immediate disciples but also to other people throughout India. At this time in India, the dominant spiritual tradition was Hinduism. The Hindus believed strongly in rebirth, reincarnation, a concept known as samsara. This was an endless cycle. You are born, live, die, are born again, live, die, and so on, in an endless cycle. For many, this was a comforting thought, a promise of continued existence. But the Buddha, having experienced the pervasive nature of dukkha, saw it differently. He saw this endless cycle of rebirth as a perpetual state of suffering. "Stop, I want to get off," one might metaphorically exclaim. The Buddha preached the paramount importance of getting free from this endless cycle of samsara. He understood that as long as one is reborn, it is impossible to avoid suffering, because birth inherently leads to old age, sickness, and death. His own journey had been a testament to this. He had tried both being excessively rich, indulgence, and starving himself, asceticism. These were two extreme ways of living, and neither brought liberation. He firmly believed it was far better to choose a middle way, majjhima patipada, a path of moderation, balance, and skillful living that avoided these exaggerations. But hey, Buddha, a curious mind might ask, if you are not born again, where do you end up after death? The Buddha's answer was revolutionary and often misunderstood. You don't get to a place, but to a condition where you don't want anything. This state of ultimate peace and liberation is nirvana. Why do you call it nirvana? Another might inquire. Nirvana, the Buddha explained, means blown out, like a flame that has gone out. Extinguished. All your desires are blown out, extinguished, and you have reached a kind of peace, a profound stillness beyond all craving and attachment. The Buddha wandered around, teaching and preaching how to reach this state of nirvana, a state of ultimate freedom from suffering. When the Buddha passed away, entered parinirvana, there were many disciples who had absorbed his teachings. Now, it was their sacred responsibility to pass on his timeless wisdom, the Dhamma, to future generations, ensuring the light of his awakening continued to illuminate the world. The Buddhist insight. The period of the Buddha's teaching after his enlightenment is known as the Dharma cycle. He taught the Four Noble Truths: suffering, origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the path to cessation, and the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, as the practical guide to achieving nirvana. His emphasis on the middle way was a direct challenge to the prevailing asceticism and indulgence of his time, advocating for a balanced path that leads to wisdom and liberation. The concept of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is central to many Indian philosophies. But the Buddha's unique contribution was to identify it as inherently linked to dukkha and to offer a clear path out of it. Nirvana, in Buddhism, is not a heaven or a place one goes after death. It is a state of being, a condition of mind characterized by the complete cessation of craving and suffering, achieved in this very life. The blowing out refers to the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and ignorance. The Buddha established the Sangha, the community of monks and nuns, to preserve and propagate his teachings, ensuring the continuity of the Dhamma for the benefit of all sentient beings. This highlights the importance of the three jewels: Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, as refuge for practitioners. The legacy, passing on the light. The Buddha's passing, known as parinirvana, did not signify the end of his teachings, but rather the beginning of their widespread dissemination. His disciples, having profoundly benefited from his wisdom, now bore the responsibility of preserving and sharing the Dhamma with the world. They meticulously memorized his sermons, compiled his discourses, and lived according to his principles, ensuring that the precious insights would endure for generations to come. This oral tradition, meticulously passed down, eventually formed the basis of the Buddhist scriptures. The Tripitaka, the Sangha, the community of practitioners, became the living embodiment of the Dhamma, carrying its torch across lands and centuries. The Buddha's legacy is not merely a collection of philosophical texts or a set of rituals. It is a living, evolving tradition that continues to offer a path to liberation for all who seek it. His teachings, distilled from his own journey of intense inquiry and profound awakening, continue to guide countless individuals towards an understanding of suffering, its origins, its cessation, and the practical path to genuine happiness and ultimate freedom. His initial hesitation to teach, stemming from the perceived difficulty of his profound realization, was overcome by compassion for humanity. He understood that even if only a few grasped the ultimate truth, the path itself was universally beneficial, leading to less suffering, more peace, and greater wisdom for all. And so, the light that ignited beneath the Bodhi tree continues to shine, reflected in the lives of those who choose to walk the middle way, those who choose to seek their own nirvana. You, too, are part of this legacy. The wisdom of the Buddha is not a distant, academic concept. It is a living truth available for personal experience and transformation. His journey from a sheltered prince to the awakened one is a testament to the power of human inquiry, resilience, and the boundless potential for awakening that resides within each of us. His teachings, passed down through dedicated disciples, remain a profound guide to living a life free from attachment, embracing the middle way, and ultimately, finding the stillness and peace of nirvana, right here, right now. Thank you for watching, and may you always carry the peace of these stories within your heart. Join our community by liking and subscribing to Buddha's Story, where ancient wisdom meets modern mindfulness. Discover more stories that soothe the mind, calm the heart, and bring light to your everyday life.